After I got my psychology doctorate, um, I applied to the Navy and the Air Force for their internship programs, and went with the Navy because the Navy this time had a flight psychology program where you could fly fighter jets and also be a psychologist. I thought that sounded pretty cool. The Air Force didn't have that. So I went to Bethesda, Maryland for my Navy internship and did inpatient, outpatient, behavioral health, and let's see, behavioral occupational psychology. And it was a lot of fun. We did a year, and I enjoyed inpatient the most, I think. Um, After that, I graduated and went down, was assigned to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina for my first duty station with a Marine base. Worked at the hospital there. While there, the Desert Storm came along and was on standby for several months to be sent over to Iraq, but the war ended pretty quickly and was not sent over. Worked inpatient and outpatient there, and enjoyed that. After that, I was called by the specialty advisor for psychology to go and go to school to become a child psychologist. I said, I don't want to be a child psychologist. They said, well, we need a child psychologist. You're qualified. We'll send you to whatever school you want to go. I said, well, will you send me to Harvard Medical School? And they said, if you can get in, we'll send you there. So I went and interviewed up there because they had trained some other psychologists. And I said, will you train me? I'm free labor to you. The Navy will pay me while I go here for postdoctoral training in pediatric neuropsychology. That's what I want to do. I liked neuropsychology. And they said, yeah, we'll take you. Apply. And they took me. And so the Navy sent me up to Harvard Medical School for a year for postdoctoral training in pediatric neuropsychology, which is brain and behavior. After that, they sent me to Japan as a pediatric neuropsychologist and general child psychologist. And while there, I was the head of the psychology department there at Yokosuka, Japan, Yokosuka. And then eventually was also head child psychologist for all of the Far East, and had people in various bases. While there also, I did house calls on the USS Independence. They were sending people over to see us for psych evals, and the problem was when they sent them over, once they set foot off the ship, they didn't want to go back. So I said, why don't I come and see them on the ship so that you don't lose so many? And I did. And I went on a tour with them down to Hong Kong and Okinawa. And while doing that, I found that we could get most of them back to duty on the ship and didn't lose so many to administrative separation. They said, this is great. So I proposed to the Navy that this would be a very cost-effective way to do psychology on ships. And the long and short of it is, ultimately, they accepted the proposal and some others ran it up. And we ended up having psychologists on all of the aircraft carriers as a result. I never got to serve on an aircraft carrier, coincidentally. Kind of ironic since I kind of proposed the program. But I showed that it was cost effective. They took it, and we now have psychologists on all of the ships. So after that, after serving there, I was sent to San Diego to the Naval Hospital where I was a child psychologist. And then we started a child psychology, child mental health program, which I was the head of. And we got our own sub-department division of mental health. And we got a couple of psychiatrists and a couple of psychologists, social worker, and some other psychologists to work for us, and a couple of nurses. And so I was the head of that department, and we got that stood up. And that was fun. Then I was called or assigned to be the head of the mental health department at, or actually of the whole clinic, not just mental health, the whole medical clinic at Marine Corps Recruit Depot in San Diego. So I was the clinic administrator for about 6 months. However, the guys who usually filled that were healthcare administrators, and they complained that a psychologist was filling that position. So I was replaced after 6 months. I was supposed to go to Rota, Spain, but the guy who was going to go there ended up complaining. The guy who wanted to go there was going to get out of the Navy if he didn't get his way and go there. So they sent him because they knew I would not retire because I was too far into my career. I ended up going to Meridian, Mississippi, which was a disappointment at first, but I enjoyed it. I was a psychologist there. And then after 3 years, after 3 years there, ended up being the clinic administrator for a year, the officer in charge of that clinic, as well as psychologist, which was very busy. After 4 years there, was assigned to Quantico, Virginia. Actually, it was only 3 years there. Anyway, sent me to Quantico, Virginia. And in Quantico, I was in charge of suicide prevention for the Marine Corps headquarters, which was a good job. I ended up doing that for several years. And then in 2005, I retired and went into private practice in Manassas, Virginia, with a small psychology practice. But ended up not making after I billed a lot, but after, my cut given to the practice, was not making very much. And honestly, I didn't like private practice very much. I thought of going into practice, but there was so much overhead. There was so much overhead involved that, as far as taxes and benefits that I had to pay if I had any employees and getting an office and all that, I thought, you know what? It was much easier working for the federal government, and I made a whole lot more. Just about that time, the Marine Corps headquarters called me and said, hey, we need somebody to be in our combat stress control office that we're standing up. And I had done some of that while I was in suicide prevention. So I said, yeah, let me come back. So they hired me back. And then the guy who was in charge of that retired from the military and decided to go work in private practice. And so they hired me, they transferred me as head of the program. And we hired a whole bunch of people and got that stood up the Combat and Operational Stress Control program, where we trained military leaders how to take care of their Marines and keep them out of the mental health system. And it was really very good. I used a lot of what my predecessor had done, and then had some good people. And we wrote a whole program and then went around the world training Marine leaders at all of the battalions to do that. And also wrote a program and an order to get psychologists and psychiatrists assigned to Marine Corps battalions and divisions, which may not make much sense to you, but the long and short of it was that we had mental health professionals, not just in the hospitals, where, again, like in the ships, they tended to lose their Marines, but we had them out in the field with them, assigned to train with them and to deploy with them over to Iraq and other places. This greatly reduced the number of Marines that were lost to mental health issues because, first of all, the leaders, the senior commanders, officers, and then senior enlisted could take care of it themselves when problems first cropped up with post-traumatic stress disorder and other issues, depression and so on. And they could keep them in the fight as long as possible. And then if it was really bad, they really needed mental health, they could send them off to the hospital and take care of them there. So anyway, I was very proud of that program. It's still going. We trained a lot of people and professionals, wrote a Marine Corps order to outline how the whole program worked. And it was great. It really felt good. After a while, though, the family was really interested in having me retire altogether, working even as a civilian. So they wanted, the Marine Corps wanted me to become the head of behavioral health for the whole Marine Corps. instead of just combat stress control. I told them, thank you. I was trying to simplify my life. So I decided to retire and consult instead with some companies I had worked for. So I did that, moved up to Pennsylvania, worked for the Bowen Group, which was a consultant that did behavioral health consultation for the Marine Corps and the Navy. Did a bunch of program development for them, wrote a bunch of manuals. And then after a while, after doing that for them, it was just not as interesting anymore. Rand Corporation tried to recruit me, but really didn't want to do the work that they were doing anymore. And I was really more interested in having more time with the family than making more money. So I thought, we're doing all right. So I decided to retire after the contract with Bowen Group ran out. And I've been retired ever since. And so I retired in, I worked with the Marine Corps until 2011, worked with the Bowen Group until 2014, been retired ever since. And been gardening, working with kids on houses and traveling and enjoying the family since then. And it's been good. So that was my career. Been retired for quite a while now. Sorry that was so long. I'll try and provide that in written form at some point, because I know nobody wants to sit down and listen to something this long, listen to it at double speed. I may have missed a few things here and there, but that's basically what I did for my life, career, education, and so on. I hope you enjoyed it. If you had any questions about that, don't hesitate to call me or talk to me. Be glad to tell you more. Thank you. I forgot to mention that where I was assigned in Saudi Arabia was up at the pass where Lehi and his family would have come up from the Red Sea to cross the Arabian Peninsula. And where I was baptized was also in the Red Sea, right along the route they would have taken along the side of the Red Sea before they came up and over. And I thought, well, was that a coincidence that I was assigned there? As far as I know, I was the first person in the church to be baptized in the Red Sea. And so I thought that was quite a privilege. Anyway, I just wanted to add that.